chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to the
Good evening,
show.
Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Please let me know if you're hearing me. I am not hearing anything through the board, so I am hoping that I'm coming across live and clear that you're hearing me. I don't know what's happening. That's what happens when you start off a new week, got your entire day planned, but I am hoping, please give me a thumbs up if everything is okay on your end and you're hearing me, because for whatever reason, I'm not hearing anything come through the board. I'm just trying to get things here sorted. Yeah. Just making sure everything is coming across. It's showing okay, but for some weird reason, I am not hearing anything come across from the board. I'm quite sure as we continue on with the stream, if you guys are not hearing me, you will let me know. Until then, I'm not so sure what's going on. Let me get the links up going here for you. I was just trying to reboot everything, but welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on the CMR platform. It's good to be back with you on this Monday as we usher in a new week. As I said, my apologies if there is any issues. Let me send up these links here for a minute. Let me just get these links out here for you. Yeah. So welcome one and all. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. It's good to be back with you this afternoon. And pretty much with everything that's happening, and all of you who are going away, y'all are going away for the summer. We're going to keep it light and pretty much like an open mic forum for the rest of the week. And Connie, please give me an okay if you're hearing me on that end. For some weird reason, I'm not hearing coming out there. But if you guys have no problems with the audio, I will continue going, and then I'll have to just wing it, making sure you ever heard about flying without radar. That's what I'm doing this evening, hoping that all is coming across loud and clear on your end. But for some reason, I did not hear the intro song, which tells me something updated. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm telling you what, I'm winging it this evening. I'm going to wing it instead of having to come out and restart again. So yes, as long as you guys are hearing me, that's all that matters. I will just do it by sight and in faith. But yes, we are back for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you, Buddha. That's right. She's right there for me. And but I appreciate. Thank you for the feedback. I put up the links there on the CMR channel so that you can go ahead and get the link so that you can join us live. My apologies there, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But yes, loud and clear. Okay, there we go. It's just on my end. Probably sometimes not so bad. But yeah, starting off a new week, new challenges, and it's just how you deal with it. You just take it one step at a time, take it step by step, and I'll do the whole reboot again, only after 7, hoping that it holds up for me there. And should we get any calls or anything like that, everything is lined up here. And you guys will be hearing them. But that's how it goes here sometimes. You just do what you got to do and you still show up. Yep, it's a happy Monday here in the beautiful Cayman Islands, and it's another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Like I said, we're smack in the middle of the summer holidays. A lot of you are traveling, a lot of you are planning on going or just making those last minute preparations. Who's not going at the beginning? Definitely. Let me tell you something. Everything, I'm going to talk about that in a second, Connie. I see your comments. But for those of you who are all excited and ready to go for the summer holidays and all that sort of stuff, some of you, we know we got some, it's in the public's domain, some news on Friday just before, about that. A dear friend, I could be honest with you, a huge supporter here. And you've seen it on social media, Patrick Watler there. And my sincere condolences go out to the entire family there. Patrick was a huge, huge supporter of myself. I called him the prospect mascot or bodyguard, my constituency office assistant in the past 4 years when I was in political office. Oh God, she used to see the pearly gates until Patrick came. But you know what? Patrick's trouble was to himself. I grew a very deep respect, appreciation for Patrick, and he's no longer with us, and we leave the authorities to do their job. But that hit me, and it has hit everybody over the weekend. So yeah, I navigated that and just came to grips with the reality of the sad news of hearing his passing, and I couldn't help but to go back to some of the images, some of the pictures and videos that we had. And to be honest with you, although the entire family, all of the persons who were around us in during that time at that office, we only had good memories of Patrick. I mean, he pressed every button. He did everything, but he was always there. Every Christmas drive through, Patrick was on that float with me and the crew. For all of the events that we had, he was there. For all the summer camps, despite, some of the kids, Patrick is Patrick, they may have been a little, I'm not so sure about him. But after a while, he just mellowed out, and I didn't have no problem with him. Only one time he almost burned down my constituent's office, lighting fireworks. Oh, dear Jesus. But the funny thing is that there was never a downtime with Patrick Watler. No, we couldn't. And all the pictures that we saw, all we could do were laugh. That was exactly the relationship that we had with him. But, my thoughts and prayers go out to his entire family. I know a lot of the family, and but the relationships and even the yard right next to what was the Prospect constituency office, now the Red Bay constituency office. There are tenants there that has hung with him. Anybody in the Macross Poulet area, Marina Drive, would know Patrick, Miss Ramjeet, and all those gentlemen over there. He's missed. He is missed. And just a couple of days ago, they were asking me about, my family was asking when last you saw Patrick. And I must say, I saw him walking along Marina Drive, but I didn't realize that he had moved out of the area. And that's what I'm getting. But my thoughts and prayers go out to him, to his family, and his immediate family, everyone who has had some sort of relationship with Patrick. And I know for sure that he was missed, because of course this is a year and change now since I've not been in political office. But I know the rapport, the relationship that we've had during that time. And I only have fond memories of him. He was a very talented carpenter. Don't make them 3, 4, 5s fool you. And I mean 3, 4, 5s, don't make that fool you. Patrick was no fool when it came to carpentry and even certain works. Now, if you caught him on a good day, good to go. But Patrick's issue was Patrick. And we adapted very quickly with respecting him and just getting to know him for who he was. And he worked out well. He was in that yard all the time, like I told you, every event. And he was a huge, huge, huge supporter of myself during that time. So that news hit us all. And like I said, to tell you that it didn't stop me in my tracks, it did. Because of the relationship that I developed with him. I'll never forget it. I was in town one day and coming up somewhere along Eastern Avenue. You know, it was actually in the vicinity of Swamp area. I was coming from Kirk's, and he was somewhere there with a plate of food in his hand, and he know my car. So far, Patrick could spot me a mile away. And all I saw was this hand in the road. And I said, "What the heck? Okay, of course, your girl pull off." He says, "Aye, mama, take me home. I'm sitting in the front again." Because it's normal. I would do that all the time with Patrick. No matter where I'm going, I would take Patrick wherever it is. Once he see me on the road, I couldn't pass Patrick. And he drove in the front seat of the car. I said, "Well, where are you going?" "I'm going home." I said, "You got food?" "Oh, yes. I just need one little cold one now." I said, "But I ain't stopping. I ain't stopping." He was so proud. I said, "Put on your seatbelt before you make police stop me." He says, "I am the sheriff from town. They can't touch you, my princess." But that is Patrick. That is just Patrick. I said, "Patrick, I am not moving unless you put on your seatbelt." "Okay, then. Okay, my darling. If it makes you happy, I will put on my seatbelt." I say, "It's the law. You're not making me happy. It's the law." Of course, he gives me his food. I held his food until he put on his seatbelt. He asked me to take the long way because he just wanted to spend time with me in the front seat of my car. That's the Patrick Watler that I know. That's him. That is the Patrick that I grow to know. But of course, my constituency office assistants, Miss Joyce Ann and Bianca, could tell you a plethora of stories, but more Bianca. Oh my goodness. The two of them. So yes, I had to do that little spiel on my dear friend, huge supporter, well known in the constituency of Red Bay and Prospect, because he went between Victoria Avenue, Marina Drive, and Mangrove Avenue in that little pad there, that area. And like I said, between the Ranjit family and the house right next to what is now the Red Bay constituency office, he will be definitely missed. He'll be remembered by all. And like I said, you see the outpouring 345 on all social media of those times interactions with Patrick. That is exactly who Patrick is. So again, thoughts and prayers go out to the family as they navigate this time, but I could not go any further without sharing that. And I'm happy that it is on a light note, despite him no longer being with us. Every memory that I can recount, there was always something that we could laugh. That was just the interaction with him, not laughing at him, but he just had that thing about him that you can't get angry with Patrick. You couldn't. You just couldn't. You just had to laugh, and he'll go. And remember the statue that I had of the Queen? We had a fixture of the Queen in the front of the Prospect constituency office during the quincentennial, her birthday. Well, that man would not allow us to, of course, after her passing, he did not allow us to discard that. People may have seen that on the side of the road on Marina Drive, and it was Patrick. He refused to let us dispose of that, even though we were doing it with dignity. And that was just who he was. He was proud of his 345, not only as the 345 in the can. Oh, Lord, he was very patriotic with the 345 in the can. But he was honestly a true lover of Caymanian, proud to be Caymanian. And he held up that flag, and he wore that with pride. So like I said, for all of those who've had relationships with Patrick, you know exactly the character, the personality, the core spirit that we had. And I'm just so happy that he was in my life so close during that time. And, huge supporter. So yes, let's move on right now and get into a start. Like I said, for those persons, I'm being told that they're hearing me fine. I am happy to be back with you here on this Monday as we start a fresh week. Whether you're on the road or at work or tuning in from home, I must tell you that I'm happy that you're spending your time with us. You could be doing so much things, and I'm looking forward to catching up, getting heads up from you guys, what happened over the weekend. And in regards to this dust, oh my gosh, I was expecting this type of haze over the weekend based on the forecast, but it was rough today. Yeah, Connie, I agree with you. So, yes, and I'm also seeing a lot of commentary around the driver's license and whether it's discrimination, whether it's legal, is this against human rights? So I'm going to revisit that just for a little bit because the comments around it is becoming really loud, to be honest. And I think it's worth going into that with you this evening. But of course, as we look into the next 2 weeks, this week and next week, we're going to pretty much have it at a more drawback unless there's something pressing, something specific that you would like us to go in. It's going to be that free for all open mic style segment. You're free to call in and we're going to take it from there because it's summer. Why not chill out? Now, why not relax? Even though I will have ready content for you, we're not going to be so rigid. Take it into this week and next week. Because the first week of August, I will be taking that week off right now. So I'm giving you notice. First week of August, I'll take the week off and then come back. And I'll be here with you for more. But before going into the crooks and crannies of today's show, please remember that the views expressed by callers, guests, and online commenters are their own and not those of Bridge Media Limited, its affiliates, or the Sabrina Speaks show, neither the host. This program is for general information only and not a substitute for legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. Now, all participants are reminded to speak responsibly and respectfully, and any content that is defamatory, discriminatory, or unlawful, or even harmful is strictly prohibited and will not be endorsed or tolerated. Now, listener participation implies acceptance to this disclaimer. You're continuing on whatever platform you're streaming us live on from, you're accepting this disclaimer here. 345-936-8255 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. You can also WhatsApp me as well. I'll be more than happy to anonymously take your WhatsApp and share them with us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. But please make sure to continue to follow, like, share the page with your friends. So when you're always notified and you're never going to miss an episode of Sabrina Speaks. We're continuing to build this space here one episode at a time. Now let's see what's happening with the weather forecast tonight. Compliments of our friends there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Here's your forecast for this evening and into tomorrow. The synopsis is calling for a tropical wave that is approaching the Cayman Islands with an increase in chance of showers expected by early Tuesday. Upper level conditions could lend some support for the development of a few isolated thunderstorms. Gusty winds with moderate seas are expected as the ridge of high pressure still maintains some influence over the Northwest Caribbean despite the passage of the wave. Now, the forecast for tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers and thunder. Temperatures will fall near the low 80s and winds will be east 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. The forecast for tomorrow is calling for partly cloudy skies, becoming cloudy with a 30% chance of showers and thunder. Temperatures will rise near the low to mid 90s with a heat index of 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, winds will be east 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. There will be a high tide at 9:34 this evening, a low tide tomorrow morning at 3:44, and another high tide at 9:06 a.m. Sun will set this evening at 7:06 and rise tomorrow morning at 5:56. Now, the outlook is calling for similar weather through Wednesday as a tropical wave lingers west of the Cayman area. Upper level conditions will remain supportive of a few isolated thunderstorms throughout that period. There you have it there. Thank you for our friends over there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service for keeping us up to date and bringing us all up to speed with our forecast. Yes, for tonight and tomorrow. Let us see what's making local headlines news this evening on the Sabrina Speaks platform as we continue to come in here on this fabulous Monday, I call it. Whether or not you're ready for it, it's already here. And guess what? your 9 to 5, it's over. Local news making Sabrina Speaks today is, yes, the Ministry of Health is investigating a single confirmed case of Legionnaires' disease with environmental sampling identifying Legionella at Anthony S. Eden Hospital. Now, public health has ordered immediate closures, remediation, and water shutoffs in affected areas until follow-up testing confirms they're safe. Now, officials note that detecting Legionnaire in the environment does not mean illness will occur, and there is no evidence of wider public risk at this time. For further information, the public can contact Public Health Department on 244-2889 or 244-6221. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service has arrested and charged a juvenile male in connection with several vehicle thefts reported between February and July of 2026. Now, charges include aggravated trespass, multiple counts of theft, and damage to property relating to stolen motorbikes, a Honda CRV, a Honda Civic, and an e-bike across Georgetown, Prospect, and Windsor Park. He is being bailed with strict conditions and is scheduled to appear in court on Tuesday, July 21st. In other local news and from the Royal Cayman Islands Police, they have reported that shortly after 8 p.m. on Friday, July 10th, officers stopped a vehicle in central Georgetown and recovered a quantity of suspected ganja, arresting the occupants for drug-related offenses. Follow-up inquiries led officers to a residence in Windsor Park where a man wanted for assault was arrested for further quantities of suspected cocaine, ganja, drug paraphernalia, and suspected firearms were seized. Additional searches in West Bay on July 11th resulted in more suspected ganja being recovered. All items have been seized and investigations continue. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service also warns the public against sharing unverified information and confirms that Michael Golab remains wanted. In other local news, we see where Juliana Myers has been crowned Miss Universe Cayman Islands 2026, earning the chance to represent the Cayman Islands on the global stage later this year. Myers impressed judges with her poise, confidence, and cultural pride throughout the competition. Organizers also recognized the strong performance of all contestants, noting their dedication and professionalism. Myers now begins her year-long reign as she prepares for the International Miss Universe pageant. A routine mosquito control inspection turned into a life-saving moment when MRCU officer Vondante Leslie noticed a resident in distress and called emergency services. Now, the woman known as Miss V was struggling to breathe, and Leslie stayed with her until paramedics arrived. She says his quick action and genuine care made all the difference, and he later checked in on her recovery. MRCU leadership says Leslie's response reflects the department's commitment to public safety and people-centered public service. As we wind down the local segment here, we see the Cayman Islands has been nominated in Recommends Reader's Choice Awards for the Best Overall Destination Caribbean. The nomination highlights the island's commitment to exceptional service and unforgettable visitor experiences. Voting is open until 19th of August, and supporters are encouraged to cast their vote online. Now, this recognition reflects the strong partnership between the tourism sector, industry partners, and the community. This week, the Cayman Islands will honor national hero Honorable Francine Jackson. Mistress Jackson will lie in state at the House of Parliament on Wednesday, July 15th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The official funeral will take place on Friday, July 17th at 4 p.m. at the Wesleyan Holiness Church in West Bay. Mrs. Jackson, a pioneering suffrage trailblazer and longstanding marriage officer, passed away peacefully on July 5th. She was one of the phenomenal four who stood in the 1959 general election, helping reshape Cayman's political and cultural landscape. And she received the Gold Medal of Merit in 2013 and was named a national hero back in 2025. As a mark of respect Flags will be flown at half-mast on all government buildings from Wednesday morning through the end of the day of the official funeral. Members of the public are invited to attend the line in state, and both events will be live streamed on CIG YouTube channel and CIGTV.com. As we turn our attention into what news is making regional headlines this evening, we see where UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met in Paris for the final session of the Coalition of the Willing, a group first formed in early 2025 to support Ukraine and strengthen European security. More than 25 nations now participate, and the UK has joined the EU's 90 billion Ukraine support loan to help Ukraine access military capabilities while supporting British defense industries. Starmer said that the coalition has overcome major challenges together and reaffirmed that Britain will continue to support Ukraine and increase pressure on Russia. Over in Jamaica, we see law enforcement officers are urging prospective buyers of used vehicles to carefully examine vehicle identification number before completing a purchase. As reported by Jamaica Gleaner, Detective Sergeant Dave Francis of the Stolen Motor Vehicle Unit says proper VIN checks can help prevent buyers from unknowingly purchasing stolen or altered cars. Police, however, are encouraging the public to verify all vehicle details and report any suspicious listing. Also, GBN News is reporting that Buckingham Palace declined a request for King Charles to sign a post-Brexit agreement at Windsor Castle, citing concerns about stepping into a political minefield. Palace officials advised that hosting such a signing could blur constitutional boundaries, as the monarch must remain strictly neutral in political matters. Now, the decision underscores the palace's continued caution around Brexit-related events and its commitment to avoiding any perception of political involvement. And also today, we see it was a royal family affair at Wilmington. Early today, as the Wales family arrived at the Royal Box and for the men's final, Prince William and Catherine were joined by Prince George and Princess Charlotte, taking their seats to a warm reception from spectators. Now, their appearance added to the excitement surrounding the championship on Sunday and marking another high-profile moment at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club as fans gathered for the final match of the tournament. Now we turn our sights to the markets closing for today, because global markets closed mixed today as investors reacted to shifting energy prices and ongoing geopolitical concerns. Now the Dow ended slightly lower, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ showing modest declines led by weakness in the tech sector. European markets posted small gains, with the FTSE, DAX, and CAC all closing in positive territory. Oil prices moved higher, adding pressure and transportation on manufacturing stocks, and Asian markets were volatile, with several indices finishing sharply down. Now that's your market for today. And yes, it is another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on the CMR platform. And for all of you guys who went out over the weekend and took in all the FIFA matches, here's what's coming up, because we're on the home stretch of the FIFA World Cup of 2026 with the semifinals lineup officially set. Yes, France will face off Spain on Tuesday. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by England taking on defending champions Argentina on Wednesday, July 15th. Yes. Now, the recent quarterfinals showed strong performances from all four sides, with Spain, France, England, and Argentina advancing after hard-fought wins, even some controversy. With only days left before the final, teams are managing fatigues and injuries and momentum carefully as the tournament reaches its very decisive stage. And I don't know about you, but I, for the first time throughout this whole season, went to Salty's, and I took it in with family and friends. That was Saturday evening? Oh, yeah. The vibe was different. Can you imagine? Some of these venues only have standing room on the inside, but it was really good to just go there, feel the energy, And I had some fun with some guys that were sitting at the table by us. Of course, we're all, you know how we are here as island people. We just go out and we grab a chair and we sit down, and we were just there, just having a good time. And when one of the teams scored, you know, they were just out of their seats. So I said, hold on. You were for that team, hiding in plain sight. But that was so cool because all along I thought they were for one team, assuming that's why you don't assume. And actually they were for the other team. And, you know, one of the things was you cheering for the best of two evils. You know, my team is gone, but I'm going to be cheering for the best of two evils. They were not in any jerseys for sure, but I can get it. But they were hiding in plain sight. That's why you got to be careful. Got to be careful what you say. But it was just all good fun. And I must say that I had a good time with family. It was getting out. And but yeah, for some reason, I still prefer doing it at home. That's just my liking. But it was good energy. I could be honest with you. I'm not gonna shoot it down. It was really, really good energy, good vibe. And kudos to all of the vendors out there who are taking advantage of this opportunity to give people the choice. I mean, the kids were there. It was a good family event, and Southeast is close to home, so why not? Happy birthday to all of those persons who are celebrating a birthday today and who may have celebrated a birthday over the weekend. From all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform and family, we want to celebrate that with you and wish you many, many more. And same goes out to all of you who are maybe celebrating wedding anniversaries or you're just celebrating life. Hey, we got to be so thankful. And we celebrate here along with all of you. We are celebrating here with you as well. Like I said, we have those who are amongst us that are mourning the loss of a loved one. Our thoughts and prayers go out to you as you navigate this time for sure. 345-936 is the number to call today to join in if you want to weigh in or let us know how you spent your weekend. Do you have your projections as to who's going to take home the World Cup? Or are you just going to sit on the fence because it has been that unpredictable? Yeah. I'd love to hear from you. I would really love to hear from you. Let's see what's happening at the community announcements. And then we go straight into sharing. Some people were out of sight in Mango Bush again, and had the audacity to send the beautiful pictures. But yes, let me just get you up to speed with what's happening in and around the community, because the Department of Counseling Service and Family Resource Center are hosting a free Monique Burr Foundation safety workshop for children and teens. Now, the sessions for ages 8 to 11 and 12 to 15 will teach practical skills to help prevent bullying, abuse, unhealthy relationships, and digital dangers. Now, this all takes place on Tuesday, the 29th of July from 8:30 on till 12:30 at the Adonis House on 4th Street. Now, these workshops are free and refreshments will be provided. So the QR code is here on it for you to just capture that. And like I said, this is the first floor at Adonis House, that's 75 4th Street, 100% free. And like I said, refreshments will be provided. So we want to make sure that we let you know what's going on. Can't say you didn't hear it. And if you didn't, you heard it then. We want to see where the National Roads Authority here will be doing some nighttime paving. Yeah, but no, not that one. There we go. Yeah, there are going to be some nighttime paving at the CUC roundabout, and that's beginning from midnight tonight. That's starting from tonight at midnight and continuing through July 24th. Now, this is the aerial image of where the works will actually be taking place from midnight tonight and continuing through July 24th. And this will take place from 8 p.m. until 4 a.m., Monday through Friday, with limited access around the area during these hours. Now, we know when you see these road crews on the roads, we are encouraging drivers to yield in the roundabout and signal when exiting. And for God's sakes, they're asking people to slow down in these active construction zones. And the NRA are, thanking the public for their patience as the improvements here continue. Now, this is a huge roundabout, and with works and stuff going in, sometimes you're coming around the bend and you don't see the cones there. So you may be in one lane and that lane merges into another lane. That's why they're making sure that this aerial view explains exactly what's happening, and works will be going on in this area. I have seen people look like they haven't come up this area in a while, and they're really trying to feel their way around this roundabout. Just ask you during this time that all of these works will be going on to honestly just take your time and just follow the signage. But you can't do that if you're going into these roundabouts 35, 40 miles, if not faster. So please, please, please use extreme caution. We don't want anybody to get hurt at all on our roads. And yes, we're seeing where the development of the Cayman Islands Aquatic Center has already begun. And this is a public notice and a reminder, because the works will go on for the next month. And because of that, there will be limited access around the site as the work progresses. There is somewhat of a map, a mock-up of the site itself. This is the new Cayman Islands Aquatic Center. And construction will run from the 13th, that is from today, until the 31st of July, with hours from 8:30 to 5 on weekdays and 9 to 4 on Saturdays, and even on Sundays from 8 until noon on Sundays. So residents in this area they are encouraged to stay updated as they pave the way for the Cayman's future aquatic athletes. So all of that is happening in and around our islands, and we're going to make sure that you're abreast or kept up to date with all that's happening here on our community calendar. And should you have anything that you'd like to share with us as a community update, by all means, you can always WhatsApp me, 936-8255, or you can send it by email, Sabrina Speaks, the number 12 at gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to promote any community events, that sort of stuff. We'd be more than happy to share those with you, the public. But happy Monday, everyone. Connie Bonnie is in the house today. How are you? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And I talking her business. She went in Mango Bush again. Look, no orchids for today, but she got some mangoes. Oh yeah, they look good. She was out of sight up in the Mango Bush. Didn't get no maiden plum, and I hope she didn't get no ticks. Yes, but happy Monday to you as well, Connie Bonnie. This is that time of the year. This is that time of the year for sure. And you mentioned about the Saharan dust, Connie. Thank you for mentioning that, because, oh my God, that was thick today. That was thick today. It was really, 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 really hazy outside. And yesterday we kind of got to ease up later on in the afternoon. That's a fact. That's for true. But today it was like, oh my gosh, it's like that caution needed to be extended into today. But I'm no expert, but I saw what was happening outside today. And I just thought that it could maybe have been extended a little bit more. But yeah, just hoping that everybody takes caution. I popped into the supermarket on Saturday, and there was a lady, she was really, really congested, speaking to another lady. And I was like, you got a cold? You got something? When you checked it up, the lady was having a serious allergy attack from all of the allergies. And quite a few people that I bumped into on Saturday were having issues with their allergies. And I know it's all this dust, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to go out, you got to run your errands. You have the option of wearing a mask if you so choose, to do whatever it takes. But it didn't stop all of those people going out to their best hangout hole with their friends to watch the football. I ventured out despite it. And I must say it wasn't bad. I must say it was not bad. So yeah. Donnie is in the house. Good evening. Happy Friday. No, not Friday. Good God. I wish it was though. Happy Monday to you. Green Valley Nursery there in Lower Valley. Open from Monday to Saturday from 7 until 4. Donnie is in the house with us today. And yes, my girl. Oh, these peace lilies. Oh, how rude of me. How bad of me. She shared with us some beautiful images. Some people can eat theirs. We can't eat these though, but this is beautiful. Oh my goodness, Dawn. I just want people to know that these pictures that we share here with you are images that are shared with us. And I am quite sure if you ask Donnie how you can get these with at Green Valley Nursery, she'd be more than happy to tell you how you can get your hand on some of these beautiful ornamentals and any other plants that she may have there as well to help you decorate your spaces. She has some beautiful, I just admire these people. Look at this. Look at that. That's at Green Valley Nursery. You can get, these are peace lilies. Yeah, peace lilies and orchids and all of that sort of stuff is out there. But like I said, on your way going to Town in Lower Valley area is Green Valley Nursery. You can't miss it. The sign is right there. If you want to get your hand on some of these beauties, you can go and pay them a visit from 7 until 4 in the evening. Maybe you want to just grab, instead of going up in the traffic and sit in your soul before you get home, pull off and visit Donnie between those hours, Monday to Saturday, and see how she can transform your space with some of these beautiful ornamentals, unlike some people who rambles up in mango bush. Yeah, well, I guess according to Andrew, you can eat these, but hey, nothing wrong with decorating a nice space. But thank you, ladies, for your dedication. I appreciate your content. I call them my content creators in bloom. And if you got a beautiful scenery, some of us even want to share food. They tease us. They tease us with their food images. We are appreciative of that as well. Damien Henry is in the house with us. How are you, Damien? Hope you had a good weekend. And that's a part of our UK family over there. And he's saying, good evening, all. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, yielding dividends that last a lifetime. Unlike material wealth, knowledge grows with every experience, empowers better decisions, opens new opportunities, and creates a lasting legacy that can never be taken away. It is the one investment that continues to enrich both the individual and those around them for years to come. I tell you, Damien, oh, you got a words, man. You got a lyrics. You got the lyrics. You dangerous. Happy Monday to you too, Andrew. It's good to have you with us in North Carolina. Love is in the house as well. North Carolina love. That's Marshall. He is joining us from North Carolina. Yep. Good evening to you, Annie, as well. Connie's killing herself. Look at them side eyes. Yes. Oh my goodness, that is something else. But it's good. It's good to be back with you. Like I said, I've been following, let's just get into it. And again, feel free. Feel free. We're going to be easing into all of these episodes for this week and into next week. More free flow style of things. So we're not going to be so rigid here. And I deliberately did that. But if there's something that comes up and it requires some expansion or expounding on, I'm more than happy to bring it here. But I'm giving it this free reign now for the next 2 weeks, not in so structured. We usually have the free flow Fridays, but from time to time, you speak about certain subjects and then it goes on and you read the commentary. A lot of people have been sharing comments and it's taken up by storm on social media platforms. And what I'm talking about is the 2-tier driver's license fee system. You might say, oh God, you're not going through that again. Oh, well, trust me, I have to revisit it, but looking at it from a different perspective, because more and more what I'm hearing in the comments is discrimination, illegal, against human rights. And let's not confuse the two, and let's put it a little bit into the Cayman context, because I can understand why persons would look and feel that way. Because even though the Caymanians are like, whew, thank God, those fees aren't hitting me. Even locals are saying it's a little bit too high. This is in the public space. And I just thought it would be easy to revisit this again, not to go line by line like what we did. No, but to do a more laser focus into the social media, some of the reactions about, it has been loud and emotional, and the discrimination side of things. Others say it's cost of living with some of the commentary and just a government managing how they collect revenue and designed. You got to rightfully say it. We got to pay the bills. There's no free lunch. When you look at it from another coin, from the other side of the coin, it could be looked at as a revenue measure designed to protect Caymanians. And some say it does all of the above. So I thought it would be wise for us to revisit it and understand, because there was even a statement made by the Attorney General, and break that down into what that means, and until it's proven otherwise by a court. And some of you may say, well, that's a little cocky. It's either legal or it's not. Well, that's exactly what he's saying, but in a more refined legalese term until it's challenged. It is very much legal in a very quick response. So I thought it would be worth revisiting that based on the traction that it has gotten on social media. You're seeing the comments, and I'm here for it. But if you want to weigh in on it, give your perspective, weigh in, be it on the comments, be more than happy. Or should there be something else that's just nagging you, bugging you? By all means, 345-936-8255, WhatsApp, call in, join in on the live, or you can bring your comments, ask your questions online here. We will do our best to try and address them and then keep you included in this live online discussion here on Sabrina Speaks. Keith is in the house this evening. Hey, Keith, how you doing? He says, I have a question. Why are people afraid to fear God and obey his commandments? Why are people afraid to fear God and obey his commandments? I have no clue. Unless you have a true relationship, and I'm quite sure anybody's willing to weigh in on this. Unless you have a true relationship, and that could be based on your culture, household, upbringing, why fear someone unless you have the true fundamental beliefs of exactly what you're alluding to? You have those who live by faith because of their strong Christian upbringing, and you have those who are atheists who just believe there is a creator, there is the universe. But these commandments, you have a different conversation that comes about with that. So it's not a matter of who fears. You have a lot of people based on their beliefs, their Christian upbringing, that actually do fear God and obey his commandments. But not everybody is the same. Not everybody's the same. And you have those that are just neutral. They know that there's a higher being. They know that there's some creator out there. But then when you look on the other spectrum of things, you have those who just live. They just live because we're all here. We're somebody's story. I've heard people have said that. We're somebody's script. Like there's some big architect that is pretty much has us like all pieces on a chessboard, if you could use that analogy, and that we're just somebody's dream being played, and that there are other beings out there. And you're seeing where now all of this stuff is coming out of the US with extra terrestrial activities that is happening, that we're not the only one in this universe. So to say, why are people afraid to fear God? Why are people afraid to fear God? Meaning, why aren't they fearful of him and obey his commandments? Because people have choices. When you look at a certain age right now, Keith, and you look at even the Gen Zs and all that sort of stuff, very few in that percentage. They may have a Christian upbringing, but I can assure you, check the children of the 60s and the 70s and maybe the early 80s who had to attend church. Can you say that that is the case of the 1970s, 80s offspring, that they mandate their children to go to church? No. It's a difference, big difference. And I think now with social media and all of the online thing that started from the time we actually went into lockdown, you have persons who are immunocompromised and all that sort of stuff. This thing of watching church service and being a part of a congregation through online platforms has even further diluted. We have, in many cases, some of the congregation have seriously dwindled down because of, I can say it, oh yeah, rollover, people migrating, and we're seeing fluctuations in numbers, even in how our congregation looks. So to me, general, it all depends on what your background is like, your culture, where you're from. Here in the Cayman Islands, we are founded on the true principles. We're saying we're a Christian nation. I, for one, was raised up in an Adventist home. Those teaching does not come away from me, but you will never find me ridiculing any other person. You will never find me ridiculing. Each person has their choice to make, because at the end of the day, based on my beliefs, if once revelation fulfills, the Bible, that was my teaching, everybody has to stand and give account for their own actions. I'm not going to criticize you for your upbringing, your teaching, nothing like that. And even though I'm an adult, to say that I'm following my truths, beliefs as a true Adventist, despite me knowing the different, no, I have slipped. I've slid, but I know my heart. Oh yeah, I know my heart. And I will dance and I will have a little adult beverage there too, but I will never go to the point where I'm drunk. No, no, I will never do that. But that's my choice. I know my heart. Whether or not I congregate every Saturday, no. I'm ashamed to say it. I can't remember the last time I went to a church service. It is the truth. But my kids have their own relationship with their God. One is more into it, and the other one, he is one of those that he believes there's a God, but in his own way. But they know the principles of my home. So at the end of the day, I feel people have individual relationships, and whether or not they tweak it to fit into this environment, some has to be the church, they have to be on a board, they have to be on the choir, they have to do this. That's totally up to them. But that doesn't make them, in my humble opinion, any more a staunch believer of Christ, Christian, as what one defines a Christian as, because I'm not on a church board, because I'm not singing on a choir, because I'm not showing up every Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is. My relationship with God is my business, and he knows that. And I feel that that's all that really matters. I give back to the community in many ways without being publicized. And you even have some people that are questioning the 10% of your wages for tithes and offering, but let God judge that person if they're doing untowards for it. So I know that's going down into a rabbit hole, but to say broad, I feel it has to do with your upbringing, your culture, where you're coming from, and whatever beliefs you have. Christianity is a fundamental of who we are as a people here in the Cayman Islands. But because of the melting pot that we are in, we are seeing other religious people joining us. And that's where we're having the mixture, which is why we're grappling right now, going back here with this topic of Sunday trade. If we're saying we're an inclusive society, then what for those non-believers? Cayman Forward, I'm hoping, will actually be addressing a lot of these stuff, and then we'll go into that a little bit deeper to see if that even dabbled on Christian beliefs, faiths, opening up the balance of Sunday trade, or just business versus religious belief, and remaining grounded in our principles and our foundation. So let's see where that goes. Live Happy is with us today. It's our country. We have the right to change the rules to suit us as we wish. Aren't we sick and tired of people telling us what to do? We must put our foot down and keep it down. Well, that has to be something in unison. And I totally agree with you, Live Happy. But for far too often, what we see is that only a few will stick their necks out. Only a few will be very vocal. Only a few will be to the front line and speak their mind, be honest, give their opinions, because of fear, which we can only bring it down to that, of speaking publicly. Again, the downside of a small island development state, where you have to be careful who you associate with, you have to be very careful with your political alignment. that could be the difference in you being able to earn an income, getting a job, obtaining a contract. That could make or break your business. It is just the environment that we're in and some of the disadvantages of being a small island development state. But I totally agree with you. But you can't expect only commentators to be doing the heavy lifting, because that is not a true reflection, in all honesty, of nationally how people feel, save by a voting system, referendum, and even these petitions. What happens? I got a question from a WhatsApper. What happens to the petitions? Yeah, you get an idea, but at the end of the day, then what? Not me. That's a WhatsApper. What happens after that? But I agree. But you cannot make only certain outlets that come respectfully, bring hard-hitting topics, be the one to carry the heavy lifting. That is not a true reflection of national sentiment on any particular topic. And until we get out of that, where the silent majority no longer be silent, but even in a unified way, you don't have to riot, you don't have to instigate fights, that sort of stuff. You understand? You could do that in a way that is so professionally done, but it gives a clear advantage. You could do it without blaspheming. You could do it without name calling or becoming very dirty. And the message will be sent. But if you have to just wait every 4 years to make your voices heard and known for only those who put themselves up for political office to say, well, this is what I'm going to do because I wasn't pleased. No, that's not it. That's not only it. Because some of the change makers may never, ever put themselves up for political office, period. But the decision makers who are elected to office get some sort of a roadmap, guidance as to a national sentiment. When you get public feedback, public commentary, that you're not shouting after this person or that person if you're not agreeing with exactly what they say, but let's say all 2 sides or 3 sides bring their points across, and then you can be in a nice area to get, oh, well, this is the views of those who are for the pros. These are the views for those who are against this. And this is one that, wow, that's a mixture of 2. It's just that they're saying it different. But how can we meet these people in the middle of the line? What legislations would be impacted or would we need to change so that we get to appease both sides? Because you're not going to please everyone. But what I'm saying is the big takeaway from this Live Happy N4J is that we're not going to ever achieve that if only a small sample are really making their voices heard. And saying you're going to do it at every election may not yield what you're looking for, because the real change makers, the influencers who may be looking for what you're saying to put your foot down, may not be the ones that are putting themselves up for political office. And the opportunities may not necessarily arise to impact change because it isn't clear enough what the true national sentiment is of possible key things. Alfred Real is in the house. Yes, you are late to class. And I called you out just now anyhow, but good to have you join me nevertheless. Keith is saying, I know my name is in the book of life and I am going to do whatever I need to do according to the will of God. Keep it there. Yeah, and that's your choice. But now, my dear Keith, you have other people who really don't give 2 shakes of a duck's tail about what we have raised up on, and they're just living life. Now, that's their choice. That's totally up to them. Some you, out of respect, they don't want to hear anything about God. Now, whatever caused them to do that, they must know why. You have to respect that. You have to respect that. But this thing of pushing this down people's throat, I think people have a right to choose whatever they want. whatever they want. I would never blaspheme against an atheist. I would never blaspheme against a Catholic. I would never blaspheme against a wholeness person. Never. That's their choice. I've said it publicly over and over again where I was raised up in. Now you look at me, you see me out. If you see me out having a good time, you would never say, oh, she's an Adventist and that's how she's carrying on. Don't judge me. You don't know this. Only that man know this. Hence, don't judge. You may choose to live your life how you want. That's totally up to you. We have to respect you. And I feel too much is far left, far right. And at the end of the day, you read the good book. Every man has to account for himself. I ain't gonna lose my soul because you going this way and I going that way. Oh no, I'm responsible for me. And that's my personal relationship with him. Now, if I don't look, or if I don't fit the role or the look of what you see as a staunch or what you expect, let's say an Adventist to look like that on you, I know my heart. Going to church every Saturday, every prayer meeting and being on every board don't make you any better Christian than me because I know me. And to each his own at the end of the day. But one of the things I don't try to get involved in, I can be honest with you, is religion. No, that and politics, you got to be careful. But politics automatically follows me. Even today, I met up with a very good friend and I was so happy to catch up with him. And, he's big into current events and stuff. And it felt like minutes, but that's how long we were talking. And it naturally follows me. And for what's happening in the world and how Cayman is changing for someone who had been here early back in the 90s. And what we're seeing, it was just amazing catching up. And yeah, we are changing and people are more liberal. They're more free. They're more, they want that freedom of choice. And what we're getting is they want to see that reflective in a lot of legislation as well. And this, my friend, is why the silent majority cannot be silent. What is the true sense of the trajectory in which we're going? You can talk what you want about how we're going to be building houses, infrastructure, education, that sort of stuff. But really and truly overall, what is the general sentiment of life, where we're going, is what's really important. Are we going to continue closing at midnight, or is it going to eventually open where all stores, no matter what square footage they are, have the freedom to choose whether or not they want to open on a Saturday, on a Sunday? Should it be a choice? Have we reached that point based on our population and still be able to preserve and protect our culture, but give these business places the choice to operate if they so choose? What is the real temperature? What is the real environment of that? But I feel at the end of the day, we're seeing it where they're becoming more liberal. People just want to have the freedom of choice. And the more rigid we're seeing laws being made, is the more defiant you get from your people. The more chances for breaches, the more chances for those laws to be broken. And then if laws are there but are not enforced, then joke's on who? Joke's on us. And that is a clear picture as to give an idea of the direction in which we're heading in. So this is why forums like this, reading the comments, which has no faces with them, but when you see a trend coming along, it sometimes is a reflection of the sentiment on the ground. And this is why what little percentage of your indigenous generational people that we do have left, not all will speak. Not all will speak. And that will get hidden. Sorry about that. That will get lost at the end of the day because we choose not to speak on things that is very important. And it's just like when you have legislation that is out for public feedback and you don't provide a feedback, and you leave it then to those who are elected to serve, and sometimes it goes in a direction that you weren't expecting, you can't blame those who are in political office for that. You have to blame ourselves for not providing the input, the feedback, the justification. And you can't get tired because you may have lost on one particular bill, one particular motion. You can't lose the momentum. You have to constantly be at it and hold your people accountable, because the direction in which we're going will actually be sustained by either the loudest voices or from silence, meaning consent, whether or not they hear from you. So I think we're at a crossroads here as a jurisdiction, and it's very important that people find their voices, trust the system, be more, how can I put it? Because not everybody's going to speak publicly, but a lot of people are very opinionated, but in the shadows. And they will send somebody else to do the grunt work for them. They will send somebody else to go and speak on a topic, and they're fearful of speaking out for themselves, which is hard to gauge. And this is why politics in this country is very hard to read. It's very hard to read. We're different. Live Happy N4J, that comment was in relation to the driver's license fee increases. Well, I'm going to go into that, but thank you. But that allowed me then to go deeper into it. And but the discrimination, thank you for clarifying that. That allowed me then to go deeper into a broader context that I'm also seeing popping up on other platforms as well. But we're getting there, because we're going to break that two-tier down, and the discrimination against human rights and all that sort of stuff is coming. But it's nothing illegal so far that has been done, unless it has been challenged or proven otherwise by a court. Wake up, the Cayman Islands. Good day to you. And Damian Henry saying, expectations is one of the biggest issue in today's society. Everyone should have a choice to make their own decisions based on their values, beliefs, and desires without being forced or controlled by others. Mindset is everything. You're right. Your mindset is everything, and how you perceive things. And clear communication is also very important. But as we go into this, and where is getting the biggest talk, to be honest with you, is these fees that were put in the public's domain of the driver's license. And we kind of grazed this on Friday, in Friday's show. And I am talking specifically about the two-tier system. Yes, because you have right here, let me put it up here for context, make it make sense. Yeah. The discrimination part is really what's sounding loud. Because here again, we see where the 3-year license for non-Caymanians will cost $600 compared to $75 to Caymanian. And then we see the 5-year license will cost $1,000 for non-Caymanians and $125 for Caymanians. The 10-year license will cost $2,000 for non-Caymanians and $250 for Caymanians. Then we see the driving tests, $200 for non-Caymanians and $50 for Caymanians. Now, non-Caymanian spouses, as we stated, and as in the public's domain, and civil partners of Caymanians qualify for the Caymanian rates now. So you can be the spouse of a Caymanian, do not yet have Caymanian status. You will be paying the Caymanian rate. You may be the holder of an RERC and even your dependents, but do not have status yet. Once you are a resident, these new fees now will be applicable to you. And as we shared here, that the government is expecting $9.6 million annual revenue if this holds. That's what's forecasted. So, the rationale behind all of this, based on the perspective of looking at it from discrimination against human rights and all that sort of, which I'll break that down. The rationale was really to protect Caymanians from rising costs, increase government revenue without burdening Caymanian households. And it also aligns the fees with the 2026-2027 budget strategy that was tabled on the floor of Parliament. They told you all that this was coming. Now, we've seen where it was only strictly for Caymanians, and then we had the public feedback and pushback Well, it's going to impact my husband, who is not yet Caymanian, but he is RERC. That's going to impact her household. And now the changes that was made from what was proposed, it has been extended to those persons and their dependents who are residents as well. But when you hear the word discrimination for this, let's understand whether this is discrimination. And because of that, I'm seeing this word being used very loosely for this context. And let's just try to break it down as best as we can. When you look at legal discrimination versus social discrimination, it's two different things. And I think that's what we are having to zoom in on here. Because legal discrimination for this context refers really to legislation, refers to laws or even policies that treats groups differently based on characteristics such as their race, their nationality, their gender, their religion, or other even protected traits. But not all legal distinctions are unlawful, okay? We see where many countries differentiates between citizens and non-citizens for those countries that have taxes, benefits, and just like what we're doing here, in this case, fees. Many countries differentiate between its citizens and non-citizens, okay? Now, when you look at social discrimination, because it's the difference between the two, that is about perception, how it may appear, how people are treated, and people's lived experiences. And social discrimination pretty much is like a policy that may be legally permissible, but still feel discriminatory. Yes. You may still be felt discriminated against because of those specific persons that are affected. Now, we can dig deeper into this and even go as far as human rights standards in this context, because under international convention and even on a civil and political rights platform, we have seen internationally where governments have the right, as I alluded to treat citizens and non-citizens differently if the distinction is based on reasonable and an objective criteria, and if it serves a legitimate purpose. Remember, these fees increases, like some of those even with the immigration side of things, were all a part of the budget, the forecasting, revenue generation, right? And when you have our very own Cayman Islands Attorney General has already made it clear and has stated that there is a presumption, quote unquote, a presumption of legality unless a court rules otherwise. Some of you may say, well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong when he says that. What a presumption of legality means, really, is one, once government passes a law or a regulations that it is automatically assumed to be lawful, enforceable, and valid, right? Nobody, not the public, not social media, not commentators, can declare it illegal just because they disagree with it. Okay? Based on what is said, presumption of legality. Number two, only really a court can decide otherwise, which is exactly aligning with what the Attorney General has said. So if someone believes that the law violates human rights or discriminates unfairly or even breaches the Constitution, it is up to them to take the matter to court. And a judge then reviews the law, and that judge then decides whether it's legal or unconstitutional. Until that happens, my friend, like this, the policy and the law remains in full force. Now, hold on. It doesn't mean that the law is perfect. Just that it's legally standing unless you prove through a court otherwise. So, presumption of legality does not mean that the law is morally right or popular or even fair. It simply means, in this case, that the legal system that governs the Cayman Islands, governs our politicians, governs our leaders and our civil servants, that the legal system recognizes as valid. And until that is challenged, you can't prove otherwise, right? So if every controversial law is considered illegal because of what we're seeing coming out in the comments, the moment people dislike it, then the system in itself would collapse. Yeah. So the presumption ensures really that government can function, that laws can be applied, that society has order in it, and disputes can go through the proper channels if, by and large, everyone has an issue with these laws that we have here. Now, the presumption doesn't block anyone from fighting the law. It just sets the starting point for it. And it's everything else is legal until a judge says otherwise. So for those who are feeling that this is questionable, and the Attorney General has been quoted as saying presumption of legality, you know, this two-tier driver's license of fees have presumption of legality. What he is directly saying is that our government is allowed to set different fees for citizens and non-citizens, as they have done here, and that the policy in itself is legally valid until someone files a constitutional challenge. I can feel the hurt. I can feel the pain on all of the social media platforms. But those opinions do not challenge the legal status of the law at all. And unfortunately, only the courts can decide if the policy crosses into discrimination or even human rights violation in this case. So what this, because some of you feel like, you know, it's just too far off. It's like they're not understanding the impact when the statement of you know, until the courts feel otherwise. This law is in effect and will go in effect as of the 1st of September. And unfortunately, if you think it's wrong, all they're saying, take it to court. That's the proper place that will make the decision. So another one that comes up is it discrimination then? Again, differential in fees for citizens versus non-citizens are generally allowed under any international law. And many expatriates right now are going to be feeling the crunch for this. Many of our expatriate workers may experience this as discrimination because of you're seeing it through their lens, and because the fee difference is quite large, up to 8 times more in some cases, and because some Cayman, our economy itself relies heavily on imported labor. This is where we're seeing the tension is coming out and why some are calling it discrimination. Some have even said about there could be a breach of human rights And breaking that down, we have to understand some of the principles, the human right principles that governs that context in order for you to cast that assumption on what is coming out of these new fees that are set to come into effect as of the 1st of September. Wake Up Cayman is saying the fees look fine to me. Compare them to other countries. It adds values to the privilege to drive in Cayman. I expect the drivers will drive more careful. Oh, I wish to Christ. I don't see that on the roads. And that was just me being out there today. They're like maniacs on the road. It's like you're in a 40-mile zone and people are doing 50, 60 miles on the highway. I mean, it's like there's no one paying attention to the speed limits anymore. And those flashing lights that shows the speed that you're going, I swear, people just want to see how fast they're going when you can actually do that on your dash, but they like to see that flashing light. And it's way over the zoned speed limits. So I think we have a culture issue here. I think we have a accountability issue here. We have persons who just not respecting what's happening on the roads. And I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. And I do not know what it's going to take in order to nab some of these people. But common sentiment that's on the ground right now, only now we have people not paying and renewing their driver's license, licensing their cars, that sort of stuff, which is an issue for persons who may get in accidents and being hit by someone who their car is just not insured or not even licensed. Then you have to deal with that person on a civil matter. And you only find out that you're operating a vehicle that is not licensed or insured when either someone hits them or they hit someone. And then what? That could be a loss of life. You could change somebody's life for the rest of their life. They could take you for everything that you have and what you don't have just to prove a point. So I feel at the end of the day, the fees may be what they are, but the big question is understanding also the principles of human rights. And is there a breach based on this, based on what commentary we're getting? Live Happy N4J saying there's a difference fees at events, for example. There are different fees at events, for example. One fee for an adult, one fee for children. And in other areas, discrimination happens across the board. Discrimination is not a bad word. Thank you for that. No, it's not. And it all depends on the context that we're using it in, to be honest with you, N4J Live Happy. And this is why it's important to understand and identify those human right principles in this specific context, because equality before the law is very important. And what we're seeing when governments make these moves, of course, they're going to be advised. And I hope to God it doesn't make the floor of Parliament without consulting the Attorney General's chambers, because that's what they're there for. And what we're seeing in these principles where human rights are concerned is that governments must treat people fairly. But they are allowed to create distinction between their citizens and non-citizens as well. That's allowed. We're also seeing where the differential treatment becomes discrimination when it is arbitrarily, when it is unreasonable, when you can prove that it's lacking legitimate purpose. In this case, that could be more than proven. When you can prove that, targeting a specific groups of persons. Yeah. Or all of these things. These are just examples, right? And then you have a case where policies, again, should not push people. Listen to this one. When you come about the economic rights and dignity, you shouldn't see where policies being made, whatever policies are being made, should not push people, individuals, into poverty or create even barriers to basic participation in the society. And In this particular case, based on international standards, and people are, it's alleged, accusing that we in the Cayman Islands and this policy could actually be breaching human rights. Based on international standards and what I could find, there's no clear breach. No clear breach is evident here with what our government has done. The policy distinguishes based on citizenship, not race or ethnicity. So there's no breach in human rights. And the stated purpose for which the government is doing it, revenue generation and protecting Caymanians. And that, my friends, is not considered a legitimate governmental aim at creating or being in breach of any human rights. Now, human rights concerns could arise if the fees become prohibitively expensive for low-income workers. And you find where those workers cannot reasonably access transportation needed for their employment, and that the policy is disproportionately affecting vulnerable groups of these people. And that's where we have an issue, if you can prove that. Good evening, caller. I'm hoping that people can hear you. You're live.
Good evening, Sabrina. Can you hear me?
I am hearing you, and I'm just hoping that the callers are.
Well, I hope so too. Well,
The listeners
even if it's
are.
only you listening, even if it's only you, it would be worth it. But it could be worth much more if everybody is listening.
Yes, sir.
Very, very interesting discussion, and I think it's important, especially that only last week, I think a week ago today, we were celebrating Constitution Day. It's good, of course, to remember what has been achieved up to this point, but also to examine issues such as these, because we see they are issues which allow us to say, okay, are we making progress? Are we not making progress? Or is this just one of those neutral things which we still have to discuss, but it doesn't mean that we are regressing or we are moving forward? The issue of discrimination I mean, I've been listening to you last maybe 30 minutes or so. And I like what I hear because it is really addressing the issues, the issues of proportionality, the issues as to whether it is justified discrimination. Those are the things that, if it were to go to court, those are the things that
One would have to prove.
Would look at. Yeah, would have to prove. Now, in a sense, I'll just be repeating, but maybe saying in different ways what you've already said, but just to give it some examples. See, discrimination per se is not a problem. The law discriminates all the time, so long as there's a justified cause and so forth. But also, there are certain cases where, imagine, for example, you want to run, I don't know, a Thai restaurant. Okay? And you advertise, you say, well, I want to employ some people here, but I want people who speak Thai. And I want them, to know something about Thai culture. Now, you can't, that kind of discrimination is justified. Why? Because you are saying, look, this is the product I'm selling. And for this product to be authentic, I need somebody who speaks Thai. So even if that would be discrimination, that's not something that legally you can succeed if you go to court. And in any case, the human rights under the Constitution apply only to government. You remember that?
Right.
So that even if the government was to run a restaurant, or let us imagine the government was to say, we want to open an office in Thailand of somebody employed by government, but we want somebody who speaks Thai. You can't say, well, they've discriminated against me because I'm not Thai, because that is justified. So there's a whole range of justifiable reasons why you might want to discriminate against somebody. The other general point I should make is that, you see, the way you touched a little bit on the conventions, the international conventions. You see, the European Convention Against Human Rights, for the protection of human rights, what it says is that discrimination is not a right that is freestanding. Okay? In other words, you have to point to another right in the Bill of Rights and say, you have discriminated against me in relation to, say, marriage, which is a fundamental right I have anyway. Okay? This is why Chantel Day and her colleague, her partner, went to court. One of their claims was discrimination, but they said you are discriminating against us in relation to the right to marriage. Because that right to marriage itself is already in the Constitution. So when you claim discrimination, you must cite the right with respect to which you've been discriminated against. It is not a freestanding right. So that's the thing. So it would be very interesting if somebody wanted to challenge this. Like what they would tie it to. I mean, would they say that, would they say, well, I've got a right to my property, which is the money that you are asking for. And by getting more from me than you are getting from another person, when we are getting the same service from the government, is that a discrimination in relation to right to property? I'm not making the point. I'm just saying.
No, I get you.
Those are the things that somebody would have to look at, and the court might agree or might not agree. Also, the presumption of legality. Again, you're right. That is the legal principle which the court applies. They always assume that once a law is passed, that law is legal
and binding until you can prove otherwise.
Exactly, and that is, it's a controversial thing, because some people say, well, look, okay, that is true in the sense that once it's done, you can only undo it by going to court. But you see, in Cayman also, we've got a provision, I think it's section 25 of the Constitution. It's called the duty to an interpretive obligation. What that provision says that when a court or any public official is examining whether a particular law or whether anything done is discriminatory, if it appears that it's capable of two or more equal interpretations, it must lean towards preserving the fundamental right. Okay. That's what they have in section 25 of the Constitution. Do I have it here? Yeah. So that's what it says. Now, it hasn't been used much in the courts. I'm hoping to use it. I've got a Court of Appeal case coming up. I'm hoping to use it in relation to...
You come in again? You at them again?
I'm coming again on that one. But you know, Sabrina, the one that might really be more of an issue is that, from what I understand, this has been done by regulation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
From what I understand, I get. But hold on, I have a comment here from Mike Hoffman, and it's good because even though what I'm reading, but I love when my commenters share this. Mike Hoffman is saying there was a post online saying this wasn't about discrimination or legality, proposing that it was cruel to raise rates without revamping public transport for the working poor, and legislators, in knowing that it would affect the working poor and showing their indifference by not carving out a sliding scale exception was its own failure.
Yeah, interesting comment.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting comment because it's talking about it's cruel, you know. Now, I don't know if he means that it is cruel and unusual punishment which is protected under the Constitution. I don't know that he's
no,
saying
but
that.
Now you understand where you have to prove certain things. And let's say you just get a group that's want to test a system. You don't hear this being used very often, but someone in the legal field, class action lawsuit. How could
Yeah.
that tie in here? Everybody's nickel and dime adds up to do a big thing. Now, this is by no means, and for the purpose of those who may just be joining us, we're just talking about this because we're hearing the words against human rights, discrimination. We see where Mike is weighing in on it. That just puts it in a different light, which ties into what you caller is saying. So it only takes
Yes.
for one to challenge it. And when you have a very own attorney general saying, look, presumption of legality is the case until the judge says otherwise, it's up for persons to challenge if they so desire.
If they desire. The only little caveat I should add to that is, whereas the presumption of legality exists and it's recognized, at the same time, it is also from the public service conscientious performance of duties aspect.
Right.
The Attorney General should not allow a matter to be legislated if he thinks that it is unlawful.
Exactly.
Exactly. But once he has gone through his paces and they think that it is fine, then it can go forward, and then people can go and challenge it. But let me mention what could be an issue. It's got nothing even to do with discrimination. You see, this is done through regulation. I'm looking at an article from the campus, which has got a link to the regulation. So it looks like it was done by regulation. The problem is this. Under the law, there's a difference between a tax and a fee. And there's a lot of case law on that. So a tax is something that you pay, and it is not connected to what you receive in government. For example, you can pay taxes today, which will be used for education, but you put no child in school. Okay, but it's a tax. But a fee is something which is related and must be commensurate in terms of value with the service you are getting from the government. Okay? So what might be an issue here would be to say, okay, since you've done it by regulation, you are suggesting that it is a fee, since regulations are not allowed to tax, but they are allowed to charge fees. And since fees are supposed to be roughly commensurate to the service you are receiving, how can you say that the same service is worth two different prices? Okay? I see, it's worth two different prices. So somebody who is paying, and the differences, I think you were just giving the figures.
I have them on the screen. I have it on the screen. But if you're on,
you have them on the screen.
Yeah.
Like 250 in some cases, and the foreigner will pay about 700 or so.
Okay, if for a full driver's license of 10 years, Caymanian $250 and non-Caymanian $2,000, which is 8 times increased.
Yeah, because the argument then will be, okay, even if the argument about discrimination might not succeed, but how can you tell me that the same service from the government is worth, like it costs more to give it to a foreigner?
So a non-Caymanian versus, you see where you're going with that?
And you see, that's what the problem is, because you see, this goes back to Magna Carta and the development in England, where they say the taxes can only be imposed by Parliament. So that if these were to be in an act of Parliament, then that argument would be eliminated, because then they would only be left with any argument on human rights. Okay. The one about taxation is not even human rights. It's just saying, as in a regulation, you can only charge me a fee that is commensurate to the service I'm getting, but you are charging me higher than the other. You are telling me that it costs more to give me a license than it costs a Caymanian. To me, that's the strongest possible argument that could be raised. The other ones, yes, they've got pros and cons. They could win, they could lose, but this one is very, very strong. I don't know what legal advice I got. Many, many years ago, Sabrina, way back, I had to deal with in one jurisdiction where I was working. We had to deal with it, and we pulled out practically dozens of cases from the Commonwealth to say a tax and the fee are different. So I will see how it happens. For me, two problems that I have, a slight problem with it. I have it in the sense that, you see, sometimes people have said, well, avoid enacting legislation which divides people. This avoid enacting legislation which divides people. I know that Daniel Aaron, for example, he was saying that, well, why don't we have two terms, a Caymanian and a new Caymanian? Both are Caymanian. We just want to make a distinction. And he was being ambassador. I remember one time he raised it with Wayne Panton. Wayne Panton said, no, let's not do that. That's not discriminatory. And then he said, no. But already that small discrimination is already in the Constitution, because the new Caymanians can't run for office. The old Caymanians can run for office, so you already have that. Why don't you are just changing a label because people feel better than that. So here they are saying that, well, let us not enact legislation which divides us. I don't agree that Denny's suggestion was dividing anybody. But this one is potentially able to divide.
Perception matters. Perception matters in this case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yes, but you see, I do also appreciate what you say, that since this is an attempt by the government to
protect Caymanians,
lighten the burden, to lighten their expenses and so on. This is the way they have chosen to respond to it.
They said it. It's a part of their 2026-27 budget. I mean, they says this is what we're going to do for Caymanians, and this is what we're going to do for non-Caymanians. But there is a cost of living versus discrimination discussion as well that you could look at, because at the end of the day, cost of living policies, when you see legislation or governments take, to protect their citizens, manage inflation, adjust fees like we're seeing here, and generate revenue, support local social programs like what they did, whether or not you're feeling it directly or indirectly. The differential in fees are common worldwide. You see it in university tuition, sir. You're over in Canada. You see the difference, right? You see it even with perks to permits. That could be another area. And we see where they're just outright, we've seen it reflected itself right here in Cayman for immigration fees. So citizens will often pay less because it's their country and the government has to do that. But I can understand why some would feel that this is discriminatory in a way.
Yeah. And if you look at, I think it's the provision that deals with, maybe it's the same one dealing with discrimination. Discrimination is allowed when you discriminate between foreigners and locals in relation to employment.
Right.
That is specifically, you are allowed to do that under the Constitution. So
to protect your people.
Exactly, to protect the people. Now, does that mean that that particular exception could extend to this? Maybe not, but we have to look carefully in the Constitution to see, because as you know, constitutions always have what they call derogations. They say, okay, the government can't do this, but it can do so if it's reasonably justifiable in a democratic society, in defense of public safety, public order, this and that, and so forth. And so all those provisions have to be examined to see exactly how this might play out. But at the end, as you say, once it has been done on a certain basis, you can only go to court and challenge it. I mean, the only thing that I have with sometimes, not necessarily in this case, but in some other cases, I do not think that it's the right attitude for the court, for the government to deliberately do something which they know is illegal, and then they say, well, if you don't like it, go to court. That I would disagree with. Now, I'm not saying that's what they've done here.
No, understood. Okay? Yeah, understood.
Not on this one. But there are some cases where they have done certain things and they frankly know that it's illegal, but they are just saying, well, who's going to challenge it anyway? But
you can only accept that if you're able to identify it. And it's only now that we're having such public discussion at this level that persons are becoming more aware of some of the issues that you have been trying to describe for years. Denny has been trying to describe that it's only recently persons can now identify them. Because going back, and I knew Mike weighed in on this from a different perspective, but because the word loosely is being used about discrimination, let's look at it from the perspective of the government, right? And looking at it from the cost of living, which I kind of went into. The government is trying at the end of the day to do what they have to do to shield their own Caymanians from what we're seeing and hearing the people cry for a cost of a rising cost while still raising revenue. We have identified there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a discrimination argument that comes with that, sir. Because and I have to put this up here so when I speak, it makes sense. Because when you see it, it just makes sense. The discrimination argument comes when the fee difference is so large that it feels punitive in this case and disproportionately affects the non-Caymanian workers who are already facing high cost of living that we know at the end of the day, our economy depends heavily on imported labor. And as Hoffman said, where is the proper rollout public transport system? If you want to do this, and it goes right back to what you said, me and you, I'm the Caymanian, you're the non-Caymanian. You want a 5-year license. I'm going in, joining the same queue. You ain't getting no VIP service. You're getting the same quality. You're not getting a chip license. You're not getting any bells and whistles. I'm paying $125 and you're paying $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit that one yet again on the proportion. Quite apart from the fact that the discrimination, the difference itself may be an issue, but even if that might not be any issue, but just the difference. I mean, I'm looking at this 250 and 2,000.
Yeah.
I mean, some civil servants who have a problem paying this, you remember that they have to pay other fees as well.
You know how they can look at it?
Living...
Just to do the 1 year for $25 or $200. You have a choice. You don't have to go for 5 years. You don't have to go for 10 years. Just do it per year then. But it's still a difference of $25 versus $200.
Yeah, it's well. The other thing that then you ask about is where is this going to end? Is it going to be applied to other things? That's what you start
we're not
asking
even
about.
going there because at the end of the day, the difference really lies. I really feel the big takeaway from all of this, to be honest with you, the difference lies in intent versus impact, because the intent here is that government says it's about revenue and protecting exactly who've elected them to serve, right? They got to balance the budget. And the impact, many expats feel singled out financially, strained in the process. So both perspectives can be true at the same time. But that's the difference between impact versus intent.
Exactly, and you see, at the end of the day, it will go down to, if you go to the section, right, the section under which the regulations are made. I haven't actually. I was involved in drafting the Traffic Act way back with Juliana and them when there was that big revision of tax legislation. I worked on the tax law. It was done initially by a private lawyer consultant, but they had to give it to a drafter to give it, the proper treatment, and we did that. Now, anyway, the enabling section, the section that allows these regulations to be made, I haven't looked at it lately, but basically all sections like that, you will be aware of it having been in Parliament for some time. They usually say that Cabinet may make regulations for the better carrying out of the purposes of this Act, including but not limited to, it may prescribe forms or prescribe fees. Okay, so the term used is a fee. So it will be a question of, is this a fee? In my view, there's a very strong argument that this is in its nature a tax, because it is not.
Well, we'll have to dig deeper into that, but we got some comments here. Hold on here.
Yes.
We got Live Happy is saying, how can fees divide people? ? So wages divide people too, then. For foreigners to feel divided, I consider that aggressive behavior. That's an opinion from Live Happy. Live Happy also goes on to say, they are also facing high cost of living in their country. That's why they come to Cayman to work. Did they cry discrimination in their countries? That's Live Happy. And we got Wake Up is saying, Wake Up the Cayman Islands says, the workers will save money too. They need to think of the money they save and send home. Why are they so eager to self-divide? Here in the United Kingdom, I cycle, take the bus, walk, and sometimes take a train. And then Damien adds in and says, will the price increase? fix the root cause. Traffic accident in caps. So very interesting feedback that we're getting.
Yes, very, very interesting comments. And I mean,
Mhm.
at a social level, those are real issues,
Yes,
like
it is.
the social level. Like, once we get into the law, of course, our considerations are different. But I mean, you see, this is why people sometimes will come to Cayman and earn what Caymanians consider to be a very low pay.
Mhm.
But the Caymanian is happy to earn that. Why? Because where he comes from, that is still a lot of money.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, those are real issues, and again, I don't want to say this. In America, I know these days they are saying if you don't like it, leave it. I don't think Caymanians are saying that. I think Caymanians are just trying
Some,
to
but not all.
reason
Some,
out.
but not all.
Yeah, a few maybe
Yeah,
might
a
be
few.
saying that,
Yeah.
but I think. But the majority are more just addressing the issue and
Issues.
saying, well,
Correct.
look, there might not be no legal issue here. Also, socially, this is an issue. You see, I tell you what, every single day, I've been associated with Cayman since 2003 when I first came to Cayman. And every single day I learn something because, you see, Caymanians have been through so much in terms of discrimination against
For
them.
true.
That
I have heard you say that over and over again, despite whatever
Yeah.
you have already said it, that when you see the Caymanians lash out, it comes from it may feel as though they're ignorant, they're angry, but this is years
Yeah.
on top of years of feeling that you've been abused, taken advantage of, this Cayman kind just being used out of context. And now we're finding the testicular fortitude and doing what we have to do. Then you think we give a crap how you feel about it? The government has said this is revenue measures. So you have always said that. You've identified that.
You know what? This takes me back to a friend of mine in Cayman. He was telling me this. You remember the time when the Honorable Bernie Bush went to the director of license I think it was the fire service, and he came there and brought the new person who was going to be appointed and said, well, look, this is the new person who's going to be chief fire officer. And then he told them, his start. He said, look, this thing of looking down on Caymanians now is totally finished, and so on and so forth. And then he received backlash from his own government, the then Honorable Wayne Panton as premier, because they said he was interfering in the appointment of the chief fire officer. Now, he didn't interfere actually because the process did take place. But what he did was he took this person and said, here is the person, and I'm happy that he's being appointed, and so on and so forth. And I remember this Caymanian friend of mine saying, do you know that in the society, people were very much on the side of Bernie Bush, although it cost him 2 weeks' salary by way of some kind of penalty. And I found that very interesting because it comes down to this same thing we are talking about. You want Caymanians to keep rules and not to do this and do that, but only when it suits you. Okay,
it's true.
And those are
it's valid to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So, but let's see what happens. I do hope that it does not divide people in the community. I do hope that at least people do not doubt the good faith of the government.
Yes,
both to
that is the
Caymanians and to
takeaway. That is the takeaway.
They are all trying to do a job which is very difficult, and I mean they've gone through this immigration matter, which is quieted down now. They are trying to do something, but if the discussion has to continue, let it continue, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, at the end of the day, quite interesting. I got an anonymous Caymanian 04 saying, "Good evening. Apologies if this is unrelated to the topic, but it is concerning how much AI CMR uses. This has an immense environmental impact. Is CMR doing anything to offset impact?" That's a whole different show. Because CMR
environmental impact.
I would like that to be explained, how they can prove that the AI in which CMR is using has an environmental impact. This particular platform. Yeah, I can see where
beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, that's okay. But I read it out. It's quite interesting. But just you commenting is actually impacting on that environmental impact. Yeah, so it's very interesting, but very good. Maybe we can take that up tomorrow.
Well, maybe we can take that up tomorrow. Good discussion again, Sabrina. Always grateful for the opportunity to
Yes.
exchange with you and your listeners. Thanks
Exactly.
very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. You too.
Bye-bye. Take care. Yes, Anonymous K-Man04. I see where data centers in China right now, their demand on these data centers are so much that they're actually burying their data centers in the ocean, which they are worried of what environmental impact that could cost. And even though it may look good, they're putting them in big capsules, waterproof capsules. And it's funny where China has been doing that for quite some time, but it was something that was started by a US-based company, and I stand to be corrected, but it was just abandoned. Now China has taken up, instead of using vast land masses for doing these data center because the demand is there. So I'm not even going to split hairs. I'm not even going to take the platform that you call it a CMR. You'd be surprised how much are using AI right now. Even in the workplaces, governments, they're working smarter, not harder, less errors and all that sort of stuff. We're seeing where their stance in the United States right now, where people are just refraining from even selling their land. We see where there's a clarion call even for legislators to say, well, okay, they were encouraging their staff. There's one company, I think I passed across Anonymous today, where they were encouraging their staff to, is it Amazon? One company was encouraging their staff to get on board with AI, gonna make you work smarter, not harder, but you can use only our company's AI tools. I don't want you to use anything from outside. And what it's happening is that is creating like an off sprout of this whole thing, Anonymous. But it's very interesting where it's going. I don't think what we're doing here on the CMR platform by the use of AI, which has made us become more efficient, is causing any more impact than what bigger companies are doing right now that we're seeing being incorporated. From the very supermarket that you walk in right now, it's AI. How they manage their freezers, how they manage just a light operating system, the fireworks and the drone shows that we are all seeing, all of those are impacted by AI. So I'm quite sure we're not the only media house or thing that is using AI. Apologies, I meant CMR as in Cayman Mar Road. I know, I got you immediately. Generative AI appears to be used to create thumbnails and graphics for Instagram. Generative AI has profound impact on the environment, and I have had to use it as well. It was either that or paying somebody else in another country to do it because we need the graphics, and you have these tools that are here to help you. And I, Anonymous, Cayman, I have used it. I don't use it to do my disclaimers and that sort of stuff, but the thumbnails, I have been creating those myself, and it is thanks to services that I use here in order to produce my show. I still believe, I guess this is traditionally me, but if I was the manager of that platform that Sandra has actually built, she has saved millions by doing what she has done in order to extend and continue to grow what she's able to produce because of AI. Outside of that, she's become smarter. She's worked smarter, not harder. And these tools are there to use. For me, I am just getting into it. And I could be honest with you, you would be floored, Anonymous. Who is actually doing this stuff? Now, maybe we can look at this deeper to look at the true environmental impacts, which is why what came to mind, Anonymous, is what China is doing right now. And we don't know what environmental impacts by them putting their data centers now in the ocean to cool, because we understand that they radiate so much heat. Long term, we don't know what the impacts are going to be on that. So maybe I can look more into that to look at the percentage of podcasters, what we use, just singling out one particular platform. I think it's a bit unfair because more as a micro and small business, we do what we got to do in order to show up here, in order to produce and to keep our overheads down. Therefore, in her case, what saving she was able to do in her space was able to create opportunities for me and so many other content creators. So until we look bigger into that, to say that it is a negative thing, I think it's all positive right now coming out of it. And until we can prove otherwise, Anonymous, I could be honest with you, Sabrina could continue using it. It is just the way of the world. But to say that we're not aware of the environmental impacts that it has based on what is out there in the public's domain, we are aware, but it's where we're headed. Damian Henry, the last comment that I'll take here for today before we're winding off on this episode of Sabrina Speaks. That device the individual is using, I can generate, is powered by AI. Yeah. So something is doing it behind the scenes. Whether or not you're doing it directly or indirectly anonymous, AI is hard at work, whether or not you know it. It has been a pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on the CMR platform. I want to thank all of my commenters. I want to thank all my contributors. I want to thank the caller as well. And WhatsApp that we got, I was able to just cover that into our discussion and our feedback here. And looking forward to another episode of Sabrina Speaks tomorrow, where, like I said at the beginning, for those of you just joining us, for the next 2 weeks, what we're going to do almost like a freestyle thing. Of course, I'll have some topics. I'll be looking at commentary in our local media, maybe some from international as well, but hard-hitting stuff. And I welcome you. I welcome you to participate and call in. I want to hear from you as we continue to build this space here one episode at a time. You can see I got distracted here because of some media that's coming in. Please log on or keep it locked to the CMR platform for the latest in news, and definitely at the pace of light, thanks to AI, as we continue to grow here. Please do have a safe evening. Good night. God bless. Love you lots. See you tomorrow.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, K-Man, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.